If MgX2 has 16 valence electrons, what element does X represent? Beryllium, fluorine, phosphorus, or sulfur? So there's actually an equation that allows us to calculate the number of valence electrons a molecule has based upon the molecular formula, where we take into account the features of the elements which compose it. For example, with CCl4, we do this quantity times group number calculation for each element. For carbon, there's one of them in the molecule, and we multiply it by 4 because that's the group number. Chlorine, however, is in group 7, and there's 4 of them, so it contributes 28 valence electrons. 4 times 7, so 4 plus 28 means that CCl4 has 32 valence electrons. But we have a bit of an issue here because we don't have our complete molecular formula. We know that there are 16 valence electrons for this molecule, but how are we going to find our missing element X? Well, let's just plug in what we do know into this equation and see where that gets us. 16 valence electrons equals the product of quantity and group number of each element, Mg and our mystery element, added together. The molecular formula tells us how many of each element there are. There's 1 magnesium and there's 2 of our mystery element, so we can already plug in 1 and 2 into these places respectively. Also, do we know magnesium's group number? Obviously, we don't know X's group number if we don't know what X is, but in fact we do. Magnesium is going to be in group 2. So that means that each atom of magnesium has 2 valence electrons. So that's why the total number of valence electrons that Mg contributes is going to be 1 times 2, and that's 2. So if Mg contributes 2 valence electrons to the molecule, and there are 16 total, let's do some rearranging. We subtract 2 on both sides and get that 2 times our mystery element's group number equals 14 valence electrons. And just to clarify what we're doing, we're rearranging our equation to solve for an unknown of interest. In this case, our mystery element's group number, and of course by extension eventually the mystery element itself. So to get X's group number on its own side, we're going to divide 2 on both sides and get that our mystery element's group number is 7. Let's revisit our periodic table. If X is in group 7, then it's either going to be fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, or whatever At is. But how do we know which one it is? Well, you might remember that this is a multiple choice question. One of these 4 is a group 7 element, and that just happens to be fluorine. So the correct answer is B, fluorine, and therefore MgF2 is our molecule of interest, and we want to check and see that it does in fact have 16 valence electrons. We're going to plug in all the numbers. 2 times 7 is 14, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 plus 14 equals 16, and yes, that does check out. So that means that fluorine is the correct answer.